Muhammad Ali, at first I got interested in him when he was only an amateur. And he's fighting in the Golden Gloves and everything. And he won that. And then he won the Olympic trials. And he went to Rome, Italy in 1960 and won the Olympic gold medal in the light heavyweight division. Then he came back and a few months later, he turned pro. Muhammad Ali changed his name to Muhammad Ali. It was actually Muhammad X in the beginning. And then it was Muhammad Ali. And, he said, about his slave name was Cassius Clay. His real name is Muhammad Ali. So, and very few people knew about the Muslims at the time. And I didn't know about the Muslims. But, his name was Muhammad Ali. So, other people changed their names too. And, he started defending his title against, everybody. Then around 1967, the draft came out and he refused to go in. And, so he got his license taken away, and he couldn't fight for over about 3.5 years. And the best 3.5 years of his boxing career, he didn't even fight. Why didn't he just, go in the army and get drafted? But, he didn't want to do that. And the thing was that if he did go in, he wouldn't have, pulled the trigger on anybody, but he had his faith, his religion saying, I can't do this because of my religion. And, and I began doing some research and I was saying, geez, that was, they said he was a coward. And I, after a while I said, he had to be a pretty brave man to do what he did because, he lost out in 3.5 years of boxing. He would never have even, like I said, fired a gun. He would have been doing what Joe Louis did. Joe Louis was the champion in the world back in World War II. All Joe Louis would do was go to army bases and stuff and give exhibitions for the morale of the troops. And that's what Ali would have been doing, all this kind of stuff. But he was so much against the war that he wouldn't even do it. And later on, I got more and more respect for him. I started figuring out, I says, this guy really, is very brave to do what he did. Because like I said, he wouldn't have pulled any triggers or anything like this. He would have been just a showcase and for morale for the troops. And when he did come back, he came back more popular because the 3.5 years, he couldn't box. He couldn't box at all. He wasn't allowed to box. But he would go to college campuses. Now this guy here, he hardly had a high school education, and he was given, lectures at colleges. And so, like you said, he was great at speaking. His voice, carried a long way, and he would rap off these words, like no tomorrow. Who is the greatest, heavyweight champion? I always say it's Muhammad Ali because even in the latest poll, International Boxing Research Organization, which I'm a charter member, it started in the early '80s. It's premier boxing historians, are in this organization, and they voted on who is the greatest on each weight division. And if you look at the latest poll on the top 10, Ali fought Sonny Liston, he fought George Foreman, and he fought Joe Frazier. They're all in the top 10, and Ali beat all three of them. And there's no other heavyweight can say that. His resume is better than any other fighter, in that heavyweight class ever. And as far as punching power, if you ask who's the greatest punchers of all time, outside of Joe Louis, you'd probably say Ernie Shavers, George Foreman, Sonny Liston, Mac Foster, Joe Frazier. Ali fought them and beat them all, So, it's hard to not say that he was the greatest. And as far as the competition, he had 61 fights. 49 of them were against people that were rated in the top 10 at one time or another. That's 80% of his fights. And 37 of them were rated in the top 10 when he fought them. But he was known throughout the world. If you would go in, let's say, Kenya, and a little hut in the corner of their country and ask who Muhammad Ali was, even if they know nothing about boxing, they would know who Muhammad Ali was, or give them a picture. You know, they said, that's Muhammad Ali, Muhammad Ali. You know, they had maybe never even saw the guy before, but they would know the name of Muhammad Ali. I always say he was the most recognizable individual on the face of the earth when he was alive. There was nobody that was more, like say, noticed than him. In fact, he went over one country, and I think they had hostages from the United States over on this one country. I forget what country it was, but he went over there and talked to the president. I mean, here's a kid, you know, a young man that then, you know, just has high school education, and he flew over to another country, you know, where there's a big war going on, and he talks to the president, and all of a sudden he comes home with these hostages. I mean, this is how much influence he had.